Hey everybody, this is Sage Valentine, and welcome to my review of Hannibal, Season 2, Episode 4, Takiawase. I went and I looked up takiawase, or takiawase, and everything that I was reading basically said something about something being slow-cooked, like a slow-cooked dish with vegetables, meat, fish, or tofu. How this plays in with this episode, I don't know, but if my sentiments are exact, Bev is dead by the next episode. Just saying. And next episode we get to see who the killer is. Unfortunately, it's not Michael Pitt. I'm sure Michael Pitt is a killer somewhere. Wishful thinking. But it's not Michael Pitt. It's this guy whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's a really good actor. Okay. The episode opens with Will, and he's fishing, and he's talking to someone as they wrap, like, the fishing lure and all the stuff around these flies, because they're fly fishing, because Will and his fly fishing, that's where he goes in the dark recesses of his mind. Whenever something becomes overwhelming for him, he starts fly fishing, so he's fly fishing. And, they pull in or they pull out, and you see it's Abigail Hobbs. So she's talking to Will, and they're having a conversation, and he's teaching her to make something called a blood knot. And it says, one you catch, the other you shoot. And he said something along the lines of, you're supposed to name the lure and after someone who passed, and then that's the way that you catch the fish. So she was like, well, what did you name your lure? He said, Abigail. Okay, Will is standing up all alone. You can see, like, in his eye that he's still looking at that circular mural palette of, made by the killer who's now known as James Gray. That's his name. Will's telling Beverly, listen, he was stitched into that, mural. And they're trying to figure out who's the second killer, and Bev is like, please don't say Hannibal. And he was like, he has no reason to kill other than his amusement and curiosity. Which Bev is kind of iffy about, but she, like I said from previous reviews, she's putting piece by piece together slowly. Bev won't look for Hannibal, but she will look for the details. And Will said it's okay so long as she keeps investigating what's going on with this second murderer. He'll keep helping her with these murders. And you notice, like, in the episode, Hannibal kind of picks up on this. He's like, you're starting to sound like Will Gray. I'm like, Beverly, red flag, ding ding, right above your head. Like, you are public enemy #1 to this dude. Okay, we see this bee, who I thought was a fly because it was buzzing. I don't know. I really wasn't. I don't know why I thought it was a fly, but it was a bee, and it goes right into this thing, and it goes into a hive, and you see, like, the little honeycombs and all this stuff. Then it comes out the other side, and you see that it's a man. So it's a man who's literally become a hive or a honeycomb. Out of all the deaths I've seen in the past, I guess this is 16 episodes of this series, this was probably the most bizarre, 16, 17, the most bizarre and crazy, and I don't know if I'll ever look at bees and honey the same way. I don't even eat honey. I stopped eating honey a while back. I eat, like, apple honey because of the whole bee thing going on, but wow. That's all I can say. And we are at the Baltimore State Hospital. Will knows that Chilton's recording him, so newsflash, Chilton, you've just been found out. And Chilton he knows that he's a topic of conversation. And Chilton doesn't believe anything he's saying, and he says that Hannibal and Bloom see Will as a poor wounded bird, but he sees Will as a psycho, delusional, or there was another word he used, I just caught on to psycho and delusional. Chilton is a wuss. Chilton is a hater. Those are my words for Dr. Chilton. Chilton is a wuss. Because Will, like, reaches out, he jumps back, and I'm like, calm it down. I'm like, you just ate at the table with Hannibal, eating person sausage or tofu person here. Like, you trust him. Will's not that bad. But anyway, Will makes a deal with him. He said, you can test me so long as you do not, and I mean, do those little psychological tests to, like, go through his mind, so long as you cut all ties with Hannibal and don't discuss me with him anymore. I will be under your exclusive care. So, of course, Chilton is like, yes, I got it. Ding, ding. And I'm like, I was like, you are so corny. Chilton's just so corny to me. Like, even in the movies, he was just a cornball completely. So, Bella's with Hannibal. She's under chemo. It was so good to see Gina Torres back. Like, I was waiting for those episodes, and I'm glad they didn't, like, spoil it by telling us she was coming back. They just surprised us, and that was awesome. Brian Fuller is awesome. She's under chemo. She's under prolonged pain management. The war is over, and cancer is an occupying force, she said. In other words, she has basically set herself to die. Like, she's ready to go. It's too much for her, and she wants to die. She wants assistant killing. Like, she wants to just die, just go. But Hannibal says that the thought that he could die at any moment frees him. He says to Socrates, death was a cure and not a defeat. Jack is at the crime scene with Jimmy and that other dude, and this person, who is the human honeycomb, has been dead for 2 weeks. He was repurposed to make room for the hive. Like, part of his brain was removed. I think his eyes were removed. He was just repurposed to make room for that hive. Bev is looking into the mural killers, the blah, blah, blah. Sorry, guys. The mural color palette killer's death. And she reveals her deal with Will to look into the cases for him if he gives her help, because like I said before, Hannibal picked up on it. Like, you're starting to sound like Will, so Hannibal's on to you, Miss Bev. Hannibal is close but in plain sight, but he knows Bev is on to him, and he's on to her. Will is letting Chilton do a test on him. He starts hallucinating and, like, having this mini seizure, stroke, whatever you want to call it. He starts dreaming of Hannibal asking him to draw the clock. And then, like, he goes from seeing the clock as, like, a drawing as being perfect to seeing this lopsided clock with the numbers all on the side. And he sees Hannibal, like, kind of bent down in front of him, injecting him with something. And then he sees Hannibal sitting back in his chair, because they're in Hannibal's, like, his psychiatric office. And what happens is that he sees his face move, and it looks like a Picasso painting, kind of like his nose is here, his eyes are here. Will realizes that he's basically talking to Chilton at this point. And he said that Hannibal was inducing seizures and blackouts. He injected me with something, which Will deduced to being encephalitis, because didn't Dr. Bloom say that maybe a couple of episodes ago, which is why they didn't put her on the stand? More importantly, I guess by the end of this season, maybe Will will be back in jail, I guess, again, or back in the courtroom, I guess. I'm wondering, like, since the judge is dead and everything, I guess he'll be in the courtroom next week. So Chilton now understands, like, he's starting to piece together with his corny self, crazy self, weirdo, Hannibal, foot-loving self, like, literally sitting there, like, licking Hannibal's boots. Not really doing it, but, like, every time you see him, I just imagine him on his knees licking Hannibal's boots. That's how much he loves Hannibal, which is what makes the movies even more, like, disturbing, just from that fact of learning from this. But Chilton knows that there's something wrong, and Hannibal did something. So Chilton lies to Hannibal when he comes to visit, and he says that Will had something induced to cause, like, somebody was injected with something that induced blackouts, and he asked if Hannibal did anything. Of course, Hannibal said no. Then he considers it that Hannibal did something to Will. And he said, Hannibal, I'm saying this to Hannibal personally. You're messing up, Hannibal. This is strike number 3. You're leaving breadcrumbs. You're messing up, Hannibal. Finally, we get the Hannibal that we remember, because he's slowly messing up. And I guess this goes into how he was caught from before. So it rolls into that. Jack and Bella are in the room together. Bella's her hair, like, tied up. Jack, I think Bella has some weed or something, and she's smoking the weed. She tells Jack, as she's, like, enjoying this purple kush, as she calls it, she wants a DNR, do not resuscitate, because she's dying of lung cancer like her mother died of the same thing, and she watched it, but she said that she watched her mom wake up one morning while she was in the hospital and scream out in pain, and Bella felt like she couldn't help her, And she's saying the same thing to Jack, like, one day it's going to happen and you can't help me. You can't help me do anything. So, I don't know. That part of the episode is pretty sad. It just broke my heart. Duncan Holland, who was the second person who was murdered. No, Duncan Holland is the name of the man who became the human honeycomb lying in between the nook of that tree. And apparently he was murdered by somebody who was religious, but he was also lobotomized. Okay, this is what they found out in the FBI's, the science room thingy. We see a man getting acupuncture, and with every needle pinprick, he can't feel a thing. And he gets a lobotomy, and we hear a female voice, which is actually actress Amanda Plummer. Amanda Plummer is brilliant. I love her. She's brilliant. She's one of those actresses that if I hopefully memory served, my aunt used to talk about a lot of, like, really good actresses, and I believe she was one of those actresses. Rest in peace, Aunt Myra. We see a child running towards, like, something, and she's running towards this old man, and she's telling him, "Sir, don't stare in the sun, it's bad for your eyes." But he turns around, he has no eyes. There's, like, nothing inside of him, and his whole face is swollen. The two scientists, one is Jimmy, and I forgot the other guy's name, but they're both so stupid. They call him the living dead, and they said that the bee stings on his body are hiding the needle mark. So each needle mark is, like, I guess, an indication for the bee stings. So I guess that's where the bee stung him on each needle mark. So Beverly hears this when she comes to see the patient, and it just clicks. She runs back to the body and realizes that the stitches that were done on the Jimmy guy, I think his name was Jimmy, right? No, Jimmy's the thing. The stitches made on that body of the killer in the middle of the mural of James Gray. James Gray was the killer. She realizes that there's stitches upon stitches. So Will sees what Hannibal did to him that last episode where he was in the room with the Chesapeake Killer, a Ripper, the supposed Chesapeake Ripper, a.k.a. Eddie Izzard. And Will was standing there talking to Hannibal. Was like, "What did you do to me, blah, blah, blah." And he starts blacking out, and you realize that the reason that Will kept blacking out and having those seizures is because Hannibal's been shooting him up with something. So he's talking to, like, Eddie Izzard's character, and he's saying, basically telling him, "You're not the killer, you are not the Chesapeake Ripper, you're biting off of somebody else, and a terrible thing to have your identity taken from you." Like, Will can see this, he's on the outside looking, and he's basically in the premonition. He's still in his cell at the mental hospital, and he's, like, walking out, he's walking into the room seeing Hannibal, and Hannibal turns to him and he says, "Terrible thing to have your identity taken from you." Hannibal's toying with Beverly, and this is what Will is, like, warning her, like, "Listen, he's playing with you. You need to stay away. He knows you're on to him." But Bev is not listening. And the female killer is at home, and she's, like, harvesting honey. Her name is Catherine Pims. I love these whimsical names that, like, Brian Fuller comes up with, like Catherine Pims, and who else is it? Abigail Hobbs, and these names. Maybe they're part of the book, but I just love these whimsical names. She claims that she's treating a man for severe immune deficiency. She left the man in the field to die because apparently she's, like, this weird angel of death, and she's just trying to she basically removes their pain, I guess the pain center of their brain, so that they're able to, die in peace without any pain. So, she claims she left the man to die in the field. She quieted his mind so he could die in peace. She makes the pain go away so that it doesn't matter. And she protected the people from hopelessness. The fact that she's sitting in that room saying this in front of Jack and those other two FBI agents, scientist dudes, proves that she's not only going off the deep end, she's swimming in deep waters. Deep, deep waters of crazy. Bella comes to Hannibal, and she gives him a coin. She says she doesn't want to die in a hospital. She doesn't want to leave that burden upon Jack. She wants to die someplace in peace. Why she chose to die in Hannibal's office, I have no clue, because that whole scene was freaky. But, anyway, it leads to her dying, and she just sits there, and her foot falls and everything. So Hannibal takes that coin, and this was probably the strangest part of this video. Takes that coin, flips it up, then catches it. It's like playing heads or tails. Everybody on Twitter is saying like it's like Two-Face type of thing, and it really was, because like I'm like, so if he had gotten tails or if he had gotten the heads, would he have eaten her? Like Hannibal. So Hannibal goes into this closet and he pulls out this thing and injects it into her neck, and I'm saying it's adrenaline, so more than likely it's adrenaline to restart her heart, but it brings her back because he lifts her up. And I guess he can feel her pulse. He realizes that she's not just going just yet. And he injects her and brings her back. So he's sitting there in the hospital room with, because you see Bella waking up and Jack has his head down on the bed near her. And Hannibal is in the room with her. He's in the corner. And Bella's just pissed because Bella, like I said, she wanted to go. She's ready to go. Lung cancer is a painful cancer, especially like stage 4, because my grandfather died of stage 4 cancer, and he was hallucinating, and he spent most of the rest of his life just in pain, because like I guess his lungs were inflamed with the cancerous cells, so he was just in pain for the rest of his life. He actually died 11 years ago. The 19th was 11 years. What happened was that when she comes back and she sees Hannibal, she's like, what are you doing here? When he comes over to return her coin, she slaps him. And I was like, get him, Bev. I was like, all right, Bev. She tells him to get out and leave. So, Beverly, however. Good Lord, Beverly. Now, Will told her stay away from Hannibal, but she couldn't do it. Beverly takes herself and she leaves. And she goes to Hannibal's house. How she got in, God only knows. She's looking around through his food and she finds, I guess, meat. And it's like some type of meat thing. I don't know, maybe it's a slab. Maybe, I think it's from that dude's leg. If I'm not mistaken, it's frozen. It's from James's leg. So she makes a mistake and spills some wine, and the wine, like, glass goes down, and the water's like, I guess the wine is down, and it drips under the floorboards, and she realizes there's something on the floor, so she's in the basement looking around, and she comes across something. They didn't show us what she was seeing, but in the corner, like, she clicks the light on, and you see this glass, and you see Hannibal in that back, and I'm screaming like, oh my God, like, oh, and she fires her gun, he runs. And all they show us is the floor. You hear the gunshots and then a gunshot up towards the ceiling. And that's it. So, I'm not a gambling type of person, but I'm going to gamble on 3 things for next episode. For the next episode, 3 things. Because we have 9 episodes left, so we're good and tight here. 3 things. A, number 1. Beverly's either dead or Beverly's held captive, but Hannibal has Bev now. Dr. Chill, not only is Will going to find out what Hannibal did, but Will's mind is going to be so open that I guess it's going to start that road going all the way down for Jack, because in the beginning of the season we saw Jack getting his throat cut because he was fighting down with Hannibal. And the third and final thing before I end anything is that, because we're going to meet that killer that is madly in love with Will, but I really believe that Michael Pitt's character is another crazy killer. I hope that he was the sweet little killer sending Will the little kilograms, but apparently my wishful thinking didn't come true, but it's nice to have wishes. But all I'm going to tell you is that I think Michael Pitt's going to be another nutty killer, and I think that even though Beverly couldn't tell Jack what happened, Jack's going to figure something out here. if he talks to Will or not. And Will and Chilton are getting together, and I think that's really cool. This episode was a good episode. Kept me on my toes, but all these episodes so far, all 4 of these episodes have been just like crazier, even crazier, and just insane. So we're on that road. Can't wait till next episode. So, anywho, guys, this is me signing off. Check me out on Twitter at Sage Valentine. Okay. Definitely read my blogs on Blogger. I hope you can handle it. The Truth Is on WordPress. I actually have to start writing on that one. It's been a bit since I've been writing. And if you like my reviews, my brand of crazy, definitely subscribe. And if you just like this video, definitely thumbs up. I want comments. I want to know, what does everybody think? Do you think that Beverly is dead, everyone? Please answer the question, because I don't want to be in the whole minority thinking she's dead. Like, your philosophy. Anything here, guys. Anything at all. But anywho, thanks for tuning in. Sage Valentine. Bye, guys. Mwah. Happy weekend. Bye.